Munsee Nidi Shinzi. Greetings and good day, everyone. My name is Dr. Jolene Bowman, and I wish you all well. As we come together for this presentation, we are keeping the healing of our students, our children, our grandchildren in the center of the work that we do every day. Welcome to Native Higher Education Pathways presentation. It is vital in American Indian research to maintain the indigenous premise from the beginning to the end of a study when the researcher is indigenous and they are studying an indigenous issue for continuity. As such, Dr. Brian Brayboy's tribal critical theoretical framework was employed in a qualitative study with a phenomenological design to explore Stockbridge-Munsee students who attended a Wisconsin college and had completed 24 or more credits. The participants' experiences and strategies were explored as it related to their persistence in Wisconsin colleges by uncovering barriers that came up in college while describing problem-solving strategies for success. I was raised in a home where we were continuously asked what we wanted to be when we grew up, and more importantly, how are we going to get there? That question influenced my life's work in cultivating academic and career mindsets for a sustainable future. It is honorable work to use these personal influences while simultaneously leaving a lasting imprint on the future of Native education. My higher education journey always seemed different from my peers, no matter which institution I attended, but I could never figure out why. This motivated me through my doctoral research to create a culturally responsive tool, which is now termed the Many Trail model, and depicts the many trails to persistence for Indigenous students in higher education. In the October 10, 2014 issue of the Milwaukee, Wisconsin Journal Sentinel, Karen Herzog authors an article titled Colleges Reaching Out to American Indians that identifies both education and tribal leadership circles are interested in increasing the number of American Indian college enrollment and graduation rates. To increase these numbers, we must first take a deeper look at persistence. Therefore, this presentation will briefly review a reading from the colonial period and give the historical meaning behind the Many Trail symbol before highlighting the Many Trail model and its meaning. Dialogue regarding American Indian persistence in higher education has historically been an issue of importance, yet the concept of learning was never at the center. In Carney's book titled Native American Higher Education in the United States, on page 30, he resources two quotes from an Onondaga Menway chief named Kanasatego. Chief Kanasatego attended and spoke at a huge treaty negotiation gathering between the Six Nations of the Iroquois and the Commissioners of Maryland and Virginia in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on July 4, 1744. Chief Kanasatego told the commissioners that
we must let you know we love our children too well to send them so great a way, and the Indians are not inclined to give their children learning. We allow it to be good, and we thank you for your invitation. But our customs differing from yours, you will be so good as to excuse us.
the commissioners pressed the issues, wanting one son from each of the six Iroquois nations to attend William and Mary as a sign of good faith. Chief Kanasatego empathetically argued the irrelevance of white education to the Indians and making a sharp counteroffer by saying,
We know that you highly esteem the kind of learning taught in those colleges, and that the maintenance of our young men, while with you, would be very expensive to you. We are convinced that you mean to do us good by your proposal, and we thank you heartily. But you, who are wise, must know the different nations have ideas of this kind of education happen not to be the same as yours. We have had some experience of it. Several of our young people were formerly brought up at the colleges of the northern provinces, where they were instructed in all your sciences. But when they came back, they were bad runners, ignorant of very means of living in the woods. unable to bear either cold or hunger, knew neither how to build a cabin, take a deer, or kill an enemy, spoke our language imperfectly, were therefore neither fit for hunters, warriors, nor counselors. They were totally good for nothing. We are, however, not the less obligated by your kind offer, though we decline accepting it, and to show our grateful sense of it, if the gentlemen of Virginia will send us a dozen of their sons, we will take care of their education, instruct them in all we know, and make men of them.
Today, 275 years later, and after many historical tragedies to the American Indian people in the name of education, the message is the same. If you want to serve and improve American Indian persistence in higher education, then you must first gain a better understanding of the unique status and needs of this population. The many trail symbol was used throughout the study because of its symbolic meaning for the citizens of Mohican Nation. It is an original design created and designed around 1965 by a Mohican citizen named Edwin Martin. The many trail symbolizes endurance, strength, and hope from a long-suffering, proud, and determined people. The curved shape represents arms raised in prayer. The circles represent many campfires. The lines represent the many trails taken from the time the Mohicans left their ancestral home. Even though the symbolism is specific to my community and the population that I studied, it is a cultural graphic representation using traditional and sacred colors that are recognizable and relatable among all Indigenous people. The Many Trails model employs 6 indicators that impact Indigenous persistence in higher education. There is no particular order to the way the indicators are placed or how they will be presented here. This means the model is continuously moving and alive within Indigenous students. Students may step out of college as represented with red arrows pointing out to depict not having the essential components necessary to persist, while over time students may step back into college as represented with green arrows pointing in to depict having built within themselves the essential components necessary to persist and reach degree attainment. One of the components is institutional support. The study uncovered that Indigenous knowledge and culture throughout the institutional environment, such as policies, resources, college programs, campus and staff presence, student services, and student organizations. The next component is college readiness. The study uncovered that not having or having culturally responsive teaching and curriculum, academic skill building, higher expectations, and advanced placement courses throughout the high school years. The next component is financial aid. The study uncovered that not having or having needs that are met timely resources and financial aid at the beginning of a semester. The next component is Indigenous nations. The study uncovered that not having or having cognitive recognition for the need to sustain and advance traditional language, culture, and history into academia, historical trauma from the boarding school experience, degrees not correlating to status, and feelings of ambivalence among family, community, and nation. Brayboy's 2005 Tribal Critical Theory, in which colonization is at the center of its 9 tenets and is incorporated as part of the left side of the outer circle, which depicts how these students work towards balancing 2 worlds within themselves through the use of their individual characteristic strength. In addition, this area highlights the differences between predominantly white colleges as it relates to colonization and its linear focus on self compared to tribal college as it relates to tribal identity and its circle focus on whole. Characteristic strengths of persistence is not limited, but includes the ability to balance 2 worlds within oneself, strong motivation, engagement, and determination, resourceful and cleverness, and also a strong support network. The next component is family social influence. The study uncovered that not having or having the understanding for a strong innate desire and need to take care of children, elderly parents, and or grandparents before self, a tight and close connection to family and home, which can lead to one being severely homesick when going away to attend college, and the personal value of attending and being part of a traditional ceremonies and or community happenings. The next component is life imbalances. The study uncovered that not having or having time management, budget and fiscal responsibility, commitment and a disciplined skill, good health, and encouragement. What I want to stress are to take home points from the many trail model, which are the intent of this symbolism is not to restrict who can use or benefit from this model, but rather a tool or resources to share with others the research findings to obtain a better understanding of American Indian persistence in higher education. It is symbiotic because it is constantly moving between 6 prominent persistent factors while simultaneously balancing 2 worlds. Students may step out of college because of not having the essential components necessary to persist, while over time students may step into college because of having built within themselves the essential components necessary to persist and reach degree attainment. All of the areas of the many-trail model overlapped with findings from prior research on American Indian persistence in higher education, except for 2 vital areas. One is the connection of culturally responsive teaching and curriculum in high schools as an opportunity to open fixed mindsets while simultaneously ending issues associated with discrimination, stereotyping, and prejudice, which is bold and found under college readiness. The other is the need for more traditional language and cultural programming for building and sustaining Mohican Nation, which is in bold and found under Stockbridge-Munsee community. Through sharing personal stories regarding the participants' educational experience and hearing their voices, the study found that correlated with a family support network, high schools, colleges, and indigenous nation building influence a student's decision to persist in higher education. These conclusions are not only a fit for Mohican Nation, they also work for other indigenous people. Implications for high school practice suggest that high schools should be working towards improving college readiness, which for Indigenous people includes higher expectations and the opportunity to take advanced placement courses while simultaneously promoting culturally responsive teaching and curriculum. We need positive teaching methods and practices with evidence of a successful application that promotes a culturally responsive classroom. We know that students are successful in an environment where they receive positive praise over negative remarks or stereotypes. Also, where they are provided multifaceted opportunities to explore and develop their own leadership style while respecting all student backgrounds. Recognizing all backgrounds is a life skill that students will use forever because it gives them the ability to understand the differences within their peers that make each of them unique while celebrating the things they have in common. In other words, students will gain the civility skills to move forward positively in difficult situations. Connecting academic achievement to maintaining cultural identity and heritage works for all students in feeling comfortable with themselves and other racial ethnicity groups, which may improve campus climate when those students enter college, so that when students learn this, our children are not seeing themselves authentically in the world in which we live. As such, we need educators committed to replacing false narrative with the truth about Native Americans, which we know will result in a new narrative that changes hearts and minds, such as teaching students the truth about tribal history, identity, culture, traditional language, treaty rights, trust responsibilities, sovereignty in the context of contemporary tribal and state government institutions, and our relations and the contribution of Indian nations to the state of Wisconsin in a culturally responsive manner. In addition, the lack of accurate and complete curricula may contribute to the persistent achievement gap between Indian and other students. Here are a few items that identify the extent and nature of the achievement gap, and a few strategies essential to close it are as follows. Increase mutual awareness and understanding of the importance of accurate, high-quality curriculum materials. Encourage school boards to identify and adopt curriculum that includes tribal experiences and perspectives so that Indian students are more engaged and learn more successfully, and so that all students are aware of the background and experiences of their Indian peers and neighbors. Encourage educators to use authentic resources, such as what is pictured on this slide. In summary, actively embracing promising practice to provide culturally responsive schooling, such as curriculum learning that acknowledges and is reflective of the local Native community knowledge systems, which includes valuing the culture and the community while implementing real-life examples and promoting opportunities to explore and advance knowledge. It is through this constructive pedagogy that will promote discipline, thought, and simplify understanding for a better world. This means we know that culturally relevant educational practices and native language use in classrooms are the key to Native students' success and performance in K through 12th grade and beyond. Implications for college practice suggest that families should be included throughout the educational experience, which supports Heavy Runner and DeSalis' work. Another suggestion was for academic institutions to adopt policies and procedures that address the unique needs of American Indian students throughout student services that include ensuring the campus has American Indian on-site as staff and faculty, and that they have an equal voice and or vote on campus, ensuring there are places that provide a sense of place, a stronger American Indian community relationships, and finally, ensuring there is academic support that is readily available. Implications for Indigenous nation practice suggest that tribal nations tell their own stories by writing and publishing books, curriculum, and additional resources. It also suggests for them to create a cultural resource and language program that is responsible for preserving and broadening knowledge for the betterment of all. When education equals dividend, it encourages youth and others to attain a degree because they are seeing that the higher education one has, the more they make in wages. And finally, continue to work collaboratively, building a network of support within academia. Why should we be asking ourselves, what are the next steps? It is because our Constitution calls for the separate political identity of Indians. As such, in the United States Constitution, under Article 1, Section 8, it reads, Congress shall have the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with Indian tribes. So as we think about building and expanding research or other work that focuses on American Indian persistence in academia, what are the next steps? In the closing of this presentation, I want to leave you simply with the understanding that there is a future in tradition. Thank you for your attendance and participation. It was most rewarding and inspiring to share. Anishik.